Greetings from the European Training Foundation from Torino, where we have a very, very hot summer day today. So my name is Nadia Solodyankina. I'm a member of the ETF Quality Assurance team. And this webinar is organized in the framework of the ETF Forum for Quality Assurance in Vocational Education and Training. So this is a network of specialists on quality assurance in VET, within which we organize different types of peer learning activities on specific topics within quality assurance. So on top of many face-to-face events, we are running this year a series of thematic webinars on areas of priority for our forum members. So today we will speak about tracking of VET graduates. So I hope colleagues, all the technical issues are fine, that you are connected well, that you can hear and see me, and we can proceed. Why we are talking about graduate tracking in the context of quality assurance? So tracking and obtaining information about graduates' outcomes after they complete education is an excellent tool to understand the relevance of VET programs. And actually, ECAVET framework, to which we refer very often in our work, places a very important focus on graduate tracking. So I think we can say it's a quality assurance mechanism par excellence. So it can really be used to improve programs. But of course, the implementation requires many efforts at the methodological level, interinstitutional cooperation. And of course, we need to consider not only the implementation of tracking itself, but also the analysis of information resulting from the tracking. And ultimately, also usage of these results to review, to improve VET programs. So this is going to be the focus of our webinar today. Today we will look into several issues. So first of all, we will see the conceptual and methodological side, where graduate tracking stands in the domain of monitoring of skills demand and skills supply, and what information it provides and how it can be used. And then we will move into the implementation level and actually look at the experience of several countries, Croatia, Slovakia, and 3 countries of Central Asia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan, through an EU-funded project that ETF is implementing there. And we will also have a possibility for questions, for discussion. So please, all colleagues who are connected, use the chat to post any questions you may have for our speakers, for our panelists. So now let's start. And I would now like to pass the floor to my colleague, Eva Jansova. Eva is the ETF expert on the monitoring and analysis of skills demand and supply, and she will take us through the methodological foundations of graduate tracking. So Eva, over to you now.
Okay, thank you, Nadia. So my task today is to indeed introduce the topic and look at the issues like what is graduate tracking, why we do it, but also I will touch upon some few technical issues just to have to provide you with an overview of how this could be done in a more practical way. But we will of course then see or hear in the panel more details on how the graduate tracking can be implemented, and more importantly how it can how the results can be used. So I will now share a short presentation, and Nadia, please, I would ask you to let me know in case there are issues in viewing it, but hopefully you can, now see it. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I will, as I said, I will look at few issues starting from what the graduate tracking is and why we are doing it. So in general, graduate tracking is basically a data collection tool that provides us with information on what graduates are doing after leaving the education, where they work, how they use their skills, whether they attend additional training, and so on. So why is it important? So I will start actually with, let's say, some council recommendations that exist at the EU level. So it's basically a recognized tool because we have two council recommendations on tracking graduates from 2017 and also the recommendation on vocational education and training from 2020, where both recommendations refer to the importance of data and quality information on graduates that can help us to understand what they do, how they perform on the labor market, and consequently help us to update vocational education and training curricula, program offers, and qualifications. So it's a recognized, let's say, tool also at the EU level and promoted in different countries. What is also maybe interesting for some of you, at the EU level, there is a working group on graduate tracking where all EU member states are invited. And here I would also stress for the countries that are considered as candidate countries, there is also a possibility to attend this working group on ad hoc basis. And if you are interested, please be in touch with me. So this is a small promotion. So graduate tracking is, of course, not one or the unique tool that can tell us something about the labor market, relevancy of education and training programs. But what I would like to stress that normally graduate tracking or tracer studies, you can also find this term, is part of, let's say, the labor market information system that consists or that may consist of different tools, surveys, administrative data, and so on. Each of them has a specific goals, objectives, type of information that you can collect. And of course, what we promote is that it's important to have a mix of different tools to really understand what's happening on the labor market, how the labor market is changing, what are the trends in terms of skills needs, and also what are the specific skill needs in specific sectors or from short-term, mid-term to long-term perspective. So this is on the slide. You can just see the, let's say, the mix of typical data collection tools that you have in different countries that basically complement each other. So what you would have very often, you have different employee surveys or specific sector studies where you are looking at the trends or specific context in sectors or subsectors. You can look also at the labor market from more long-term perspective. So you can build more quantitative forecast or qualitative foresights where you are looking at the very, let's say, long future and you are trying to estimate what changes will take place on the labor market. Then, of course, you have graduate tracking or tracer studies that are run usually at a national or institutional level. I will touch upon some of the aspects related to the design, and that can help us to understand a bit more what is, for example, the graduates' labor market status, how they search for work, to what extent they use the skills acquired during the education, how much they are satisfied with the work, but also looking back how much they are satisfied with the studies. And then, of course, consequently, it allows us to provide feedback for the education and training offer. It provides relevant input to, for example, career guidance, but also to specific labor market measures that can support the transition of students from the education to the labor market. So this is just to provide, let's say, a context that graduate tracking is not the only tool, but is one of the tool. However, it's very important tool.
Ja odem uvijek iz pre posla, ali mi ne prija generalno.
Colleagues, can I please ask you to switch off your microphones? Thank you.
Thank you as well. So that brings us, let's say, to the main question that can be answered by the graduate tracking. What we usually want to know, what the graduates do after leaving education, whether what are the working conditions. So do they have a paid job? Do they have a formal job? How they search for work and how long did it take them to get a proper job. What is also important, we want to understand that to what extent the skills and competencies that they acquire during the education or the training are used at the labor market, and that indirectly also allows us to understand what are the specific skills that they are demanded on the labor market. So it gives us, let's say, information on the labor demand and the labor supply. And it's a very important tool that can give us also information that provide feedback also to specific institution, depending, of course, on the design. So this is let's say the what information can graduate tracking give us. So why we do it? We do it because it provides important evidence for different elements. So as I said, indirectly about the skills demand, but it also is important element that provides input to, for example, career guidance and counseling, because we can understand to what extent our graduates are successful on the labor market, given, for example, specific program, how much they earn, what are the working conditions, and so on. It, of course, provides information on the quality of education and training, as already mentioned by Nadia. It provides information, for example, on the relevance of the education, but it also can help us to understand, for example, the effectiveness of our labor market policy measures, services, because we can, of course, track graduates not only from the formal program, but also more from short-term courses. And in general, it provides also very important information on, for example, the working condition, informality. So important data that can then be, let's say, used for different review and assessment of specific measures, education programs, and so on. So it's a very useful tool. And as Nadia said, it's also promoted, let's say, by the ECAVET network. Here, what I would like to stress, first of all, as part of the quality assurance and vocational education system, we want to promote the feedback loops, so feedback from employers, graduates, on the usage and value of the acquired skills. So graduate tracking is very important tool that provide us such information. It provides us information on the labor market, on the skills, on the demand of the trends, and so on. So it gives us important information on the quality of education. And what I forgot also, that it can be used, for example, for the accreditation process. The second element of what I would like to stress is that you may remember you have the 10 key indicators, quality indicators that are also promoted by ECAVET. And specifically, the indicators 5 and 6 refer to the data that can be collected through graduate tracking. So the indicator 5 is the placement rate in that program. So it refers to information on the destination of that learners at some point after graduation. And also the indicator number 6, which refers to the utilization of acquired skills at the workplace. So here we can also, what is also, let's say, promoted to look at different breakdowns by individual criteria, type of program. So graduate tracking can provide such information that allow you to calculate these two indicators. But also, what I want to say, of course, this type of information, when we look at the 10 quality assurance quality indicators are also more difficult to, of course, obtain because specific type of data is needed. One more element, this is more relevant, for example, for Balkan economies, in countries where we have use guarantee programs. So for those who don't know what use guarantee is a specific, let's say, approach or strategy promoted by the EU, where all young people under the age of 30 should receive a good quality offer in terms of employment, apprenticeship, traineeship, or continued education within a period of 4 months of becoming unemployed or leaving education. Here again, there is a stress on providing evidence, tracing the graduates to really understand, for example, on the effectiveness of the design of the different schemes under the use guarantee. So it's a very important tool that can help us to provide important information for the policy, let's say, making. So this was on why and what. Now, few information on the data collection strategies, because what we want is, of course, to collect information on graduates, why they are already out of the education institutions. And what I would like to stress here, that in the EU countries, typically you have two ways how to collect such information. One is through surveys, so it's a typical survey with the usage of a questionnaire that is distributed among graduates and data is collected. Or you use education registries and administrative databases, such as, for example, social security registries, to collect data not through contacting the graduates, but more centrally through the usage of the administrative data. In general, however, what we always stress, whether you decide to run a survey or you use the administrative data approach, there is always a need for institutional home. So when we work with countries to set up such type of systems, this is like one of the main things that we always insist on. There are, of course, there is a need for some specific capacities in terms of data management and analysis, and also this is particularly crucial for the surveys, access to good database or contacts of graduates. So when we look at the administrative data collection, this is something that is available or is used in most of the EU countries, where the countries link education and social security registries through individual IDs. What are the, let's say, pluses? Of course, you have a comprehensive coverage. It's you can get up-to-date information. It's cost-effective, and of course, you are collecting accurate and standardized records. what is, let's say, the limitation? This is specifically important for countries where there is a large share of informal employment. Through administrative data collection, usually reach out to formal employment, so there is a specific limited coverage of the information that you collect. And of course, you are limited to the information that you have in the databases. So typically, you will understand whether people are employed or not, maybe their labor status, their wage, but you will not understand fully information on their, for example, satisfaction, usage of skills, and so on. Two important issues when countries set up such system is, of course, the issue of data protection and access to the data. This needs to be managed legally. And of course, what already Nadia mentioned, the interoperability and cross-sectoral cooperation, which is crucial. So this is something, for example, we are now facing in Kyrgyzstan, where we are trying to really see how the administrative data could be used for graduate tracking. Then, of course, you will have surveys. I just would like to mention that you have different designs or setups that you can imagine depending on a country. So surveys, of course, are using a specific questionnaire that is distributed to graduates after they leave the education institution. We have countries where this is managed by a central body, be it, for example, Ministry of Education, that contact graduates, collect information, analyze them. In some countries, this is not feasible or not done. So, for example, they opt for a more decentralized approach where you have specific providers contacting the graduates, collecting the data, and analyzing the data. Few more information on the surveys. Also, you can opt or make specific decision related to the surveys, and that's something also that we've done as ETF. You need to take decision on whether you target all graduates or you are looking at specific, for example, specialization, or you want to run the survey with a specific sample. You can also survey the graduates only once. So I don't know, after 9 months or 1 year after graduation, you survey them and you don't survey them again. Or you can also decide to survey the graduates several times. So where we speak about more panel design. Important element is also to decide when you want to implement such a survey. So it's not very good idea, for example, to survey graduates of formal programs 3 months after graduation, because this is probably the moment when they only start looking for a job. But usually it should be around like 1 year or 1.5 years because to give them, let's say, sufficient time to go through different types of job and to allow them to find a job that is also relevant to their specialization. It takes just some time. So those are the elements that very often need to be taken into account when analyzing or when using surveys. Of course, with administrative data, it's much more easier. You can follow specific people in more than one points of time, and it's more, let's say, cost effective. One last information, what usually we collect through surveys. So as I said, when you use administrative data, you are very much limited to by the information that exists in your registry. So typically you have information on the employment, wages, labor market status, sector where people work. With surveys, you can, of course, collect more information, so not only the characteristics of the employment, but also how they search for jobs, whether they pursued some further education. You can also have specific section or batteries of questions on the skills used at the workplace. So it provides complementary information to what you can get through administrative data. And indeed, I will just close because I'm also looking at the time. If you look at the EU countries, most countries combine both type of information, so administrative that is done more regularly, and also survey, also data collected through surveys. So this is a typical, let's say, setup. I could, for example, pick up Netherlands, which is a very nice case when it comes to vocational education, where they have a regular annual collection through the administrative data, but also they complement this administrative data collection through surveys that allow to provide more in-depth information on that is then used for update of the education program, but also budgeting and so on. So I would stop here. So what I wanted to do basically is just to provide information on what, why tracer studies and how this can be implemented. In the presentation, I also included 2 links together with CEDEFOP and ILO. Some time ago, we developed also guides on how to run a tracer study, which you can find here under this link. And I also added a link on Eurograduate survey that is, let's say, realized at the EU level. There will be a new round soon, which focuses more on tertiary education, but I think also the tool, meaning the questionnaire, is also relevant to large extent for the vocational education. So that's it from me, Nadia.
Thank you very much, Eva. Excellent, very precise overview on the why and the how. Before we actually go into the experience of some specific countries. So I see that we have a few questions already for you, Eva. So let's just look now at the question from Dalia from Egypt. So how are graduate tracking results integrated into external quality assurance and accreditation processes? Are they used as mandatory evidence during institutional reviews? And we have one more question from Dalia. What indicators from graduate tracking have proven to be the most meaningful for evaluating VET institutional performance?
Okay, so I will try to respond. Of course, I think my colleagues then from Croatia, Slovakia, they can add more because I'm more on the technical side of how to run, how to put the system in place. But from my understanding, depending of course on the country, data from the graduate tracking is used for the accreditation system. If I'm not mistaken, for example, I would refer to Estonia, where they are looking at the evidence on what's happening with the graduates. When it comes to the indicators, so and now I'm referring, for example, to the work of the working group and where they try to now also define a general set of indicators that would be collected at the EU level to also refer to the performance of the education system. So definitely it's the employment, so the placement rate, basically the indicator number 5, the share of graduates that are employed, and they would look at the also labor market status, so type of employment, is it self-employed, this is employee, family workers, and so on, to also look at the, let's say, the issue of informality. and also the usage of skills, because this then give, and I'm thinking, for example, about the example of Netherlands, they use it to really understand what programs to continue, whether there are, or what programs, for example, to discontinue, to also see, what to support. So this would be, so this would be basically the indicator 5 and 6. And also what I would say, they are looking also another indicator that has now been agreed as part of the standardized, let's say, group of indicators would be also on wages.
Excellent, thanks. Thanks very much, Eva. And as you also suggested, maybe we could go back to the first question of Dalia on the usage of results in the external quality assurance and accreditation when we speak with colleagues from Croatia and Slovakia. Yeah, then we have a request to share the presentation. Absolutely, we will do that. And I don't see any questions at the moment, colleagues. Anyone would like to maybe switch on the mic and ask? No. So then let's move on. I would now then hand over to my colleague, another colleague from ETF, Munir Bati. Munir is the leader of the ETF Quality Assurance Forum. And Munir will now moderate a panel of guests, colleagues, who will share how graduate tracking is implemented in their countries. But Munir, over to you to present our speakers.
Yes, thank you very much, Nadia. So the second part of the webinar will be on realities, on practice. We are moving from the theory, why graduate tracking systems can be useful for VET systems to collect information about graduates, collect information about transition from school to work. And now we are moving on exactly what's happening in reality, how countries are implementing and using this tool to collect data. And for that purpose, we have with us 3 panelists. So the first one is Tatiana Ponchankova from Slovakia. So Tatiana, yes, here we are. So Tatiana is the national reference point, ECAVET national reference point for Slovakia. She's working on development and implementation of quality assurance in vocational educational training, focusing on processes and evidence-based quality assurance mechanisms. She has been closely involved in the design and implementation of the tracking system in Slovakia, which is composed of 3 levels, and she will tell us a little bit more about that. And so welcome, Tatiana, and great to have you with us today. Our second panelist is Dorian Roljancic. Sorry for the pronunciation. Very well, welcome, Dorian, and great to have you with us today. So Dorian is from the National Agency for Vet and Adult Education in Croatia. He's an advisor for project design and implementation, and has been working as project manager within the ECAVET reference framework for Croatia since 2022. I mean, this is to say that our 2 panelists are very well aware of the development at EU level and EU frameworks and new instruments. Our third panelist is my colleague Eva Jansova, and Eva is joining us in this session to let us know a little bit about the project of implementing graduate tracking systems in 3 countries from Central Asia. So, and what lessons, what were the objectives, challenges, and what lessons. So I would like to start this session by asking each of you to take 5 minutes, only 5 minutes, to let us know about your system. So 5 minutes to tell us about the objective and what is it about the tracking system. And then we will have a couple of questions from my side, and then as well we will collect questions from the audience. So we will start with you, Tatiana. please, the floor is yours, and let us know about your system and the 3-level for tracking system you have.
Thank you very much, Maria. I hope you all can see me and hear me. Thank you for having me, first of all. So yeah, I would like to tell you a bit about our 3-pillar approach in Slovakia we are currently developing. So as you could see on one of Eva's slides, we are in the column which we have like both administrative data and also like a survey approach. But it's not that perfect as in Netherlands, for example, and I will tell you a bit more why. Because it's not centralized in one institution is like the really simple way how to say that. But so the first pillar is administrative data, which tells us about graduate labor market outcomes, like numbers itself. It shows us what happened, but not why. We cannot really easy to say. That is why we need 2 additional perspectives. And this first pillar is monitored jointly by the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Labor. And we have like really nice website. It's really easy to use. You can see these really colorful pictures and you can play a bit with it. So it's great. And we are telling the schools that you can really use this data, but it's not combined with other 2 pillars. That's what we are thinking to move forward in the future. So the second pillar is a national graduate tracking survey for wet graduates, which is currently being piloted. And so we already went through 2 rounds, and the third one is going to be this autumn. You can already see the national report on our website. I can easily share it with you from year 2024 and 2025. It is also translated in English if you would like to know a bit more about methodology and outcomes. And the third pillar, my favorite one, I would say, is the school level graduate tracking survey, where schools collect and use their own feedback from graduates as part of a self-evaluation and quality assurance. So I don't know if I could more to the depth, or maybe, yeah, for now it's.
We'll ask you questions and then you can elaborate further on your system.
Okay.
Dorian, what about gratis?
Yeah, hello, Munir. Thank you very much for inviting me. Yeah, I'm really happy to be in this international events. It's always good to hear about other perspectives on this topic. Graduate tracking in Croatia and gratis. Yeah, so gratis is kind of the currently now ongoing application or system, or as we call it, the graduate tracking information system. So hence the gratis. So basically we started a few years ago, and it was all done through the ECOVET NRP project. So we had our first thought in the first cycle we joined the project, my agency as the national reference point. So we saw that one graphic of the indicators covered by each of the state, and we saw, okay, the indicators 5 and 6 are really low tracked by almost all of the states in the EU. And the idea was how to approach this problem. And also, as Tatiana mentioned, the centralized option was not really good because there's a lot of different institutions from which we could track these all of these data, and so we opted for a survey on a vet provider level. We did some, let's say, investigation and research, and basically did a working group with several experts on the field of statistics and education, and we have made really a very detailed questionnaire survey for the graduates, which they would be given in, let's say, in 2 rounds. So in the first round, when they are still at the school, as we call it, the exit survey, where we collect their GDPR and compliance with the survey, and then the main survey, which has over 100 questions, but it's a modular system. We started with doing it in the resources we had at the moment, so mostly like Microsoft and Google resources, making it like Google Forms or Microsoft Forms. But this had its kind of negative sides of collecting all of this data, sending it to the former students and analyzing it. So it was quite a lot for our agency to handle. We started with a really small sample of schools, with 3 schools in 2017, and then we moved up each year. So we are now currently we have done the 5th piloting with 35 web providers, and just to mention that we have around 300 web providers in Croatia. So we have like a 10% rate of this serving. We will continue to move up these numbers, but to kind of ease this burden of collecting all of this data and to have it available at any point for both web providers and for us to maybe have a comparison between data. We have then made this gratis, which you have mentioned, and this now offers each web provider, which is included in this for now project activity, to monitor their success rate, and also for us to monitor it on the national level.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Dorian. Eva, about this project, EU-funded project named Daria in Central Asia.
Yeah, I will provide some information on that. So in 2024, if I'm not mistaken, we supported the piloting of the graduate tracking in 3 countries. It was Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Kyrgyzstan. And there we focused, we basically put aside the administrative data, but we focused on the survey. So what we wanted is indeed to set up kind of system that would be feasible, or let's say feasible for the existing capacities of the ministries, and also would provide some useful information. So we work together with the ministries of education in each of the country, where we developed a questionnaire and let's say the system or the research design or the system of data collection. It was slightly different in each country depending on the need, but I would just say that, for example, in Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan, we opted for a kind of two-phased approach, where we had a short battery of questions for the students at the end of their studies. So something like now what was mentioned in Croatia, where we would already collect information on the related to the contacts, because the contact database is crucial if you want to reach out to students or then graduates after they left the education institution. But also we would introduce already some batteries of questions to assess, let's say, their study experience, conditions, teaching quality, and so on. And then in the second phase, after some months, after graduation, we would run, we would provide them with the questionnaire that would look more on the transition. So how they search for job, what is their current employment status, working conditions, utilization of skills, and so on. In Kazakhstan, we had a different approach where together with the Ministry of Education, the decision was to reach students only once, so not let's say administering this first phase questionnaire to still the last year students, but to only contact them once they graduate. And there we also focused on specific sector. So it was in that case transport and logistics. While, for example, in Kyrgyzstan, now they are surveying all graduates from the initial vocational education. So that's basically on the design what we did. I already say that in some countries like Kyrgyzstan we succeeded and the system continues. In other, for example, Uzbekistan, we put it on hold. So we were not always successful, but I think this is part of the reality and part of our job.
Indeed, this is part of the reality. And I will come back to reality now, and I would like to ask Tatiana, to ask you, I mean, what triggered the development of the system? Why now? I mean, once would think that, well, we need that information from the market, so we may assume that we should have it from the outset. But you said that you started piloting, or the first pilot was maybe 2-3 years ago. So what triggered that?
Yeah, that's a really good question when we know that a recommendation from 2017 took quite years and it took so long to understand that it's also needed in Slovakia, right? Yeah, but yeah, probably that then in 2024 it was the right time, and we also had like from ETF project money, so it was perfect time that we started to maintain this graduate tracking. The main trigger, I would say, was the recognition that we needed better evidence on what happened in VET, on VET graduates. We wanted to move from assumptions to evidence and better understand like what's going on there. We already had some information from administrative data, mainly about employment outcomes. You can already see on the link I said, they tell us, for example, whether graduates are employed, but they do not explain why some graduates succeeded or not, what skills they use, how satisfied they are with the education, or where are the gaps between education and the labor market. And we were missing from the perspective from our graduates for their feedback on their skills, study experience, and the relevance of the education. And in the beginning, I have to say, like, schools didn't really understand why they should focus on graduates. It didn't make sense for them, like they're already gone, like we have our current students we should focus on. So the first phase was really about explaining why is it important. So that was another trigger, the need to help schools understand graduate feedback as an important source of evidence for quality improvement. Yeah.
And
so.
yeah, and then, if I'm not mistaken, your system, I mean, the schools have the possibility to engage into the tracking system, so it's on the voluntary basis, right? I mean,
Yes,
this would sound a little bit strange for many countries. I mean, how can we ask schools, would you like to be part of it? Would you like to collect feedback from your students? So can you explain to us what was the rationale behind this approach?
Yeah, I completely understand that it could be strange for many countries and people, but we wanted schools to see the graduate tracking as not as additional administration obligation, but as a useful tool for self-evaluation and quality improvement. And for us, like, building ownership among schools was really important that they could feel, and for us also to highlight the value of usefulness of feedback for schools, so that they would have their own motivation, like inner motivation, to engage in graduate tracking rather than doing it only because you have to, it's mandatory. And in Slovakia, I have to say, many institutions are used to working based on formal requirements and obligations, and introducing another mandatory process could sometimes create resistance, because we discuss, because we are like on regular basis, we have a meetings, face-to-face meetings with the schools, and we discuss about this. And for them, they really appreciate that they're not forced to do something, because they say, like, openly, like, there will be a riot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so this approach, I think, allows us to identify also, like, the motivated schools that were willing to participate and experiment.
Sorry. Colleagues, could you please mute your micro? Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so it was really important for us to see like what schools are motivated to participate just because they want and not because they have to, and experiment with us, play with us a bit, and share their experience and help us improve the methodology. Because after every round, we ask their opinion, their feedback, but not about like what was the response rate or what was the results about, but the process, how it was, and how next year could we do better job to help them and support them. So yeah, but in the future, let's see, like when finally all more than because in Slovakia it's quite also a strange thing, we have more than 400 vocational schools. So yeah, but I have to say, like, in the process,
how many are covered now? How many have
yeah,
embarked in the process
yeah,
now?
around 220 or 30. It's yeah, they show willingness to participate in our activities and our survey. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So
200.
I would like to take question posed by our friend Dalia Taha from Egypt about the resources. Indeed, implementing tracking studies at school level require resources, and maybe require as well capacity building, maybe as well requires kind of support. So what was your approach on that, and whether schools have benefited from any kind of support in implementing tracking studies? In a particular, that you need to have reliable data, you need to have processes of collecting data which are reliable as well, which you can trust, when you can use the outcomes, etc. So how did you do with that?
Yeah, so usually people mean by support financial support mostly, or yeah, so we do not provide any financial support to our school, so it's really like 100 voluntary approach, I would say. But we try to, communicate with them like through online consultations, which can be like individual, or like we have also like on a regular basis like group webinars. Then we have like this face-to-face meeting. Then we have like we train the people who are responsible for these processes as like a quality members at the school, let's say. So yeah, we train them first, and we have these webinars online. You can easily find it on our website. So if there was time you couldn't be there, so then just you can watch it anytime you want. Then we also prepare like really short methodology. We call it like recipe, like what kind of ingredients you need for that, like step by step what you should do. So yeah, usually at school it's a one person responsible for this, but yeah, when we have these sessions, and for example this June we had a meeting when we use like few school like good practice, and they shared what they did like from 2014 until now, and it's huge progress. They did really well. I'm really impressed by our schools, but some who were like newcomers because they finally heard about this approach and tool, they would like to use it in the future. They're like, how can you do that? Like what's the secret behind? Because they it's something new for them, and we couldn't, because once we were trying to put in the legislation that this could be like a work of or job of like quality team in the school, that this is really like part of his job, but we weren't successful yet, but we keep trying. So for now it's really like voluntarily, fully.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Tatiana. I will come back to you, but I would like to move to Dorian and ask him about the approach of Croatia, which is as well very specific, because you've started with this small pilot of several schools. Then you got the second round, then you got third round, then you got a fourth round, and you're at the fifth round, and you are still far from covering the whole system. So this would be a little bit might sound a little bit strange, because usually what we can see is that you pilot and then you streamline, and you don't go through this, I mean, 5 rounds of piloting, and you are still far, as I've said, from. So can you let us know why this approach and what was the rationale of this approach?
Yeah, of course, it does sound quite funny. Well, I think the reason we have not shipped it kind of nationwide is first place, there is a lot of resources need to be invested from our side. So we have this question about what kind of minimal financial, human, digital resources are needed for the schools. We have kind of went with the option that the school has at least amount of some kind of these resources needed for them to operate in this activity, which means that we have a lot of a lot of resources that we need to invest in this activity as the national agency. This is one of the reasons why we have not still opted for trying to get to all of the 300 schools, and as well as Tatiana said, this is kind of a voluntary process. So this is kind of also an external evaluation of the work of the schools. The information that they are given is from the former students. And external evaluation in Croatia is not it's not implemented. We have the state matura exam, so it's only for the adult education, not for the web providers for the initial vocational education. We have started step by step because, as I said, we have used the resources which were quite complicated to have, since the survey is very long. As I said, it has more than 100 questions posed in let's say five main modules, and each student, former student, is answering them. He's answering it from the current point. So if he's a student at the university or somewhere, he's answering from that point. If he is currently has a job, he's answering as a worker. And so all of the 100 questions are not answered by each of the student. So to analyze this, all of this amount of received feedback is quite a challenge for our institution at this moment. And for now, we are currently going with the model of having around 30 to 40 web providers per year in a voluntary approach. And we have kind of a public announcement on our official project and official national web page for the web providers to join us in this activity. And it is all then shifted to the web provider level, as Tatiana also mentioned, to a lot of face-to-face phone calls, Zoom meetings, evaluation meetings, working groups, etc. So we are trying to train those persons and the web providers, which are the quality coordinators of their school, or part of the quality team. We try to teach them on how to use the gratis application and how and why this is important to get good information from the survey. So actually, last week we had a big evaluation session live here in Zagreb with all of these 35 web providers, which have started with the survey back in 2024, and now 2 years later they had this main survey filled out, and we had a large discussion on the challenges and the feedbacks and the results. And also we use our national conferences as a way to kind of disseminate the results, because some of the web providers which have joined us since 2017 and have been regularly doing this web graduate tracking, they have now posted great results and great innovations in their school life. And these are some examples which we try to disseminate amongst others to join us in this survey, in this methodology. So
Yeah.
kind of like
Yeah. Thank you, Dorian. Dorian, you said that you actually the number of school covered or the percentage of the school covered by the survey is little bit limited. Say 10-15% only of the schools are covered. So to what extent the data, the information collected through that through those schools, the data collected reflect really the labor market needs and the trends in the market, and allows you to take any corrective actions or to recommend any improvement into curriculum or to propose policy options. I'm saying that because it's actually the coverage is quite low.
Yep. So our thought for this surveying, and there's also a question in the chat, why is it not like the centralized version? So uh, we already have all of this data through various applications on the national level from the ministries, from the Croatian Employment Service, from various other institutions. And they already have these informations which provide kind of the raw statistics. So they will provide the number of students each year, the number of vet students that go to the labor market, the number of vet students that go to further education, etc. So these are kind of raw statistics we can get, but they are all spread around the different institutions. So there's a lot of work from the side of the ministry to get all of this information and kind of make all of this and answer to these questions, which you said on the policy level of changing the integrating some reforms of the curricula and those kind of questions. With this survey, we wanted to go more towards the vet provider level. So what can the school as its own entity change in its provision to the students, make it more attractive, make the quality of the provision better. So the questions are more related to the former students to answer how they feel they have about their knowledge and about their competences they have been given, they have taken from the school and now translated into the labor market. How satisfied are they with this education and how well they are navigating in this further education or labor market. So for the schools, as I said, they have this they can see the information about the raw statistics, how many students are there in the working place and in the or are continuing their education, but they do not have this really feedback of their own really delicate feedback on how the students perceive the education was given to them, and this was something that the schools were really interested to get on their level. On the national level, yeah, it is kind of still hard to give a big conclusions for the system, because in this piloting we have targeted around 35 schools, but we have targeted geographically diverse schools, different sectors, economic sectors, different sizes of schools. So kind of giving various information all together, but it's hard to pinpoint exactly some national system level, let's say, challenges. For us, currently we are on the national level, we are searching for those challenges in this methodology, and what are some problems that most of these 35 ed providers have find themselves in. And these problems are mostly with the response rate from the former students. We collect in the exit survey when the students are still in the school, we collect these data, contact data, but it has been proven a very hard time to contact the students after 1.5 years or two years after they finished their education, and this response rate is something we can provide some analysis on the national level.
Yeah, Dora Tatiana just posted on the chat the national report of 2024 about the tracking system and the results. very nice report. I've read it, and I really enjoyed reading this report. And I just ask colleagues, I mean, to just download it and have a look. It's really great. And I wanted to ask you whether in Croatia you do publish national reports based on the tracking system.
Yeah, we do a report, but only for our agency, so we do not publish it. It's not publicly available then. For now.
Okay. Thank you, Dorian. I will be back to you with an additional question. And now I would like to move to my colleague Eva to tell us more about the pilot of the tracking system in in Central Asia. And my question to you is: you said that it was successful in one country but less successful in another. So, from your perspective, what were the main reasons behind that?
Okay, so there are several factors which are also important, you know, and I think some of them actually were kind of also mentioned by Tatiana and Dorian. So one of the factors, for example, were, let's say, the local capacities, especially when it comes to analytical capacities, because what we manage, I'm now thinking, for example, about Kyrgyzstan. I think we are now in the third round. The data collection is working quite well, but when it comes, for example, to the analytical phase, we are still facing some problems, because you need to process the data, you need to use them, you need to disseminate, and also thank you. I have taken some notes, you know, on some good ideas that we can still introduce in the next months, because there I feel that we have still some challenges. We also had a challenge which maybe is not really is something clear, you know, and obvious in the EU countries, but maybe not in many other countries. And this is on the privacy issues, because there is at this moment there is not really strong legislation, so we didn't really deal with that. But in Kazakhstan, for example, we had the issue of no, it was really difficult to reach out to people. So what we for the next round, what we propose indeed to have this phase of this exit survey where you collect the consent with being also contacted after several months after graduation. So this was not the issue of the data privacy, which we kind of didn't expect, but came out as a big problem when it comes also to the response rate. And then another thing which I could mention, but this is something that I think can be supported, is this kind of evidence culture, understanding how the data can be used, because indeed many schools are used to that they need to collect certain data to kind of as a compliance, but what we need to support and strengthen in our work also in the next months is this usage of the data, how it can contribute to the development at the provider level, that data from graduate tracking is not something to be used as punishment, but is really like a tool that can improve and empower the individual providers. So this understanding still needs to be supported, because indeed not all providers are necessarily motivated to collect such data, because they don't really see the immediate value. So, but this is, I think, a long-term process. To really, do this graduate tracking, learn how to use the data, how to well disseminate the data, and so on. So this is something that I'm also taking for myself, that we need to improve over the next months or years.
Yeah, I have a question on the capacity. I mean, we touched upon that, but since colleagues on the chat are coming back to this issue, because I think it's it's a very important element for them. Based on your experience with these three countries, does it really require a lot of resources for school to implement tracking graduate systems? Is it that, I mean, time and resource consuming?
So from, let's say, my experience, we have always tried, at least in Central Asia, to set up a system that is not really costly. Which of course then mean that you may need to do some compromises when it comes to the rigorous, research approaches. But I believe it's not so costly. What we need, of course, for Kyrgyzstan, we have, of course, the coordinator at the level of ministry. Then we have one person at each school that dedicates some time to this. So it's more, again, about the time issues and recognition of this time to be dedicated to this exercise. We use online questionnaire. Again, we use Google Form, not the best, but okay, it's free, so that's okay. The schools need to have some budget, for example, for some follow-up phone calls if needed, and so on. But it's not generally costly. What I see as our main challenge is this analytical phase, because this is something that we are then pushing back to the central level, because we cannot expect that at each provider we have somebody who is super proficient, in data management and data analysis, and that's not always the case that at the ministry or specific agency you have such a team, and in that case you need to support it with some capacity building. And to arrive to products that can be also easily replicated by the team with that specific set of skills, let's say, that they have. So I don't think it's costly in terms of money, but there needs to be, division of roles and capacities in terms of, for example, the analytical, analytical skills to be able to handle the data and process them, and to really draft, for example, useful reports that can be then used to provide feedback back to the providers.
Okay,
so that's my view, let's say.
Yeah, excellent. Tatiana, I'm back to you, and I would like to ask you a couple of questions. The first one on the utilization of the results of the tracking system. I mean, what utilization are you making out of it, based on the results, on the feedback you get? You are muted.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I noticed. So you ask how we use the results, basically, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the crucial point. So these national results gave us a broader pictures of graduate experience, their transition to employment, and the perception of the education they receive. But the real value comes when school reflect on this feedback and use it for the improvement, of course. And for example, the results have already helped schools identify areas where they can improve more to the depth. For example, communication with students. This was actually the topic that showed in 2024 and 2025 as well. For example, link with the employers, practical training, because this is something they would like to have more, and it doesn't mean more often, but more in terms of quality, or providing a better career guidance for students. So the national, the second pillar, is helping really to develop their school questionnaires to go more to the depth. So this is our national picture. Okay, so this is something it's crucial for our graduates. So, and is it also a case in our own school? So let's ask more deeper questions, because of course in national questionnaire we are not too specific, of course, because we cannot focus on so many types schools. For example, Dorian said that you have more than 100 questions or around like this. For example, we have 43 or so, but it's with filters. So not each question is going to each group of people. For example, when you answer that you are also studying and working, it's a different set of questions than other. So we really wanted to make it for them easy to use even in a tram, for example, when they fill it out in the phones, so it cannot be really long. And so this show them like how to build their own school questionnaire on the third pillar. And for us, it's not like a huge thing like that we showed it to the ministry and they did like huge reform or so, but we finally see that this like graduate feedback has become part of the quality discussion itself, that they know what does it mean, even though the data sets from the pilot are not yet fully representative. The process itself has created awareness among schools that graduates are an important source of evidence for improvement. So for us, this was amazing that they are actually coming to us. They are writing us like, how could be involved in this process? Could you help me to be part of it? And I mean, that's for us, that's amazing result. And yeah, looking ahead, like what we are planning to do more in the future, we'd like to strengthen the connection between national and school level tracking, because sometimes it seems like for them is like double questionnaire. For the graduate, they ask like, but you already sent me the link like few months before. Why should I do it again? Yeah. So now we are thinking like, so that schools can receive meaningful feedback and use it within their quality assurance process. Like we can, because let me start again. In this 2025, we were thinking like how it could be also filtered to each school, not only, for example, region or program, but also like to school. So each school can be like filtered and should see also only results for them. But our analysis wasn't able to do so because it's like a huge list, and we were thinking like how on the phone like the graduates scroll like for 15 minutes to get their school. And also like, okay, it could be also online questions so they could write it down, but it would be really, really difficult to to analyze the data itself. So this year we are thinking to go like on the school level as well, and they can be filtered, and we can do like from the national review, national questionnaire, make like a school report for them. I'm not sure if I was clear because
but let me elaborate a little bit on my question. I mean, on the feedback you get from schools and from the tracking system, you may have issues that can be addressed at school level. You mentioned one of them, communication. So school can work in communication, but you have as well others, and one of them I picked it from the report, where students were saying one student was saying that curriculum was outdated. Revising curriculum, updating them, I presume is not done at school level, but maybe at national level. So, I mean, how are you using that at national level? At school level, it's clear. We have problems with communication. We have problems to improve our relation with employers that we can address. But there are issues like curriculum, which are rather issues at national level that go beyond the capacity of the schools and their mandate.
Yeah, but this that's really good example that they really change their curriculums based on the results, but it's really specific, and it cannot be said like from the national level like this has to be added, because for example AI is something that could be used for like all of them, let's say, but some of the really specific topics for like specific field of schools, I don't think that this is the, I don't know, that that it could be helpful for like other schools. For example, I really like that they picked what is necessary and really important for school itself, but not as a national level. But yeah, let's see, we only had like 2 rounds, and as also Eva said, like it's really important to read data correctly, because we were invited because some of the employees saw our report, and they were really interested about like this entrepreneurship and trainership, like how they ask for more. But and from the national level, it could happen that they will put like more hours to entrepreneurship, but they cannot really focus on the quality itself. And it's I think like only school can work with this. Like they could go more deeper, like what is going on these practical sessions. So I mean, yeah, on the state level it can be set something, but I'm not sure that it's gonna be really helpful. I mean,
Okay.
they
Yeah. Okay. Same question to you, Darian. Dorian, on the utilization of the results of the graduate tracking system, how are you using them or making use of them? I think, yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. It's just got a problem with connection, so I got kicked out from the. Yeah, utilization of the results. As I said, the survey is really in depth. So we have tried, and Tatiana mentioned that and also Eva, that these analytics is the hardest part of the process. So we have usually used an external expert when dealing with this huge amount of data. And this was manageable with 15 web providers, 18 web providers. But moving up the ladder, it's more difficult and difficult to for our institution to financially cover these expenses. Currently now, we are only collecting direct feedback from the methodology, from the questionnaire, and this is why we say we are kind of piloting. It's when we started, we focused more on the questionnaire itself. Then we moved, when we saw that we have problem with the Google Forms, the Microsoft Forms, we moved to work on a digital tool which would ease in the process and make all of the data available at each time and not be reliable only on the will of the Google or Microsoft to kind of contain all of this data. And now we are moving to the kind of the methodology, because we saw that the problem is to get the response rates. The problem is to get the school to cooperate with us on this activity, because usually it's one person in the web provider, which has been given this task or which has voluntarily applied for this task, and the school perceives this as a one person job. So this is a kind of a fault in our system, and we are using a lot of our conferences, seminars, webinars, and all kind of contacts with our web providers to let them know this is not one part, this is not a one person job. The entire school has to be involved, and the results have been a lot better when the entire school was on the same page. So when you had the help and the support of the people in the school which were in direct contact with these students. So in some schools, maybe the great connection was done between the principal and the students. In some others, between the pedagogue or pedagogical staff. In the others, some of the more teachers or more inclined to training parts, which was more interesting to students, they have a really good connection with them. So it is important to include a variety of people from the web provider. So these are the informations which are using right now. Regarding to some national information, we in Croatia are currently going through a big reform, and we have turned upside down the entire system of web graduating. system, and we have not used the information from the graduate tracking for these reasons. We at the Department for the Quality Assurance, we are using these information, and we can see that some problems are reoccurring, and on each of these seminars and webinars, which we are working with these 35 web providers, we are sharing these information with them with help from the external expert. But as I say, if we would to include this on the national level, we would have quite a tough time with data analyzing and dissemination of results and tracking of the entire process.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I'm back to you, Tatiana, and I want to ask you. I mean, if you have one recommendation to make to a country that is willing or exploring or testing a tracking system, what would it be?
I was muted again. So what should I recommend to schools? Sorry,
I mean, based on your experience in designing and supporting the implementation of tracking system in Slovakia, if you have to make a recommendation to a country which is starting that process, what would be this recommendation? Don't do it. Don't do it. Oh no. Yeah.
like, yeah. Earlier you start, better. Even it seems like it's something you can never succeed, because for us in the beginning it was really because I have to say, even before our project started, we inform all vet schools in Slovakia through Ministry of Education that this is going to happen. So please, if you are able, if you have a capacity and motivation, please, let's start to collect the email addresses from your alumni still when they are in the schools, because it's much easier when you have them under the roof. And some of them like really reply that, no, I'm not going to do that. Why should I do this? And it was even the project started, and we had like, oh my God, this is going to be fiasco. Like, this is going to be disaster. But as like, don't have like huge goals, like huge eyes, as we said in Slovakia, but really start with the small, super small steps and continue step by step. And yeah, we are in the 3rd year and we can really see the progress. Even like for other countries, I can imagine that it's really weird how we build it up, and yeah, that it's on voluntary basis, but I still agree how we proceed. And I think this is like a bottom up approach. Yeah. I'm like a huge fan, so that would be my
okay.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Same question to you, Eva. Based on this project in Central Asia, what would you recommend for a country that is exploring, let's say, the possibility of implementing tracking system?
Well, I would agree with Tatiana, step by step, indeed, focus, don't expect that everything will be perfect from the start, but, focus on the different phases. But I would also say, like from my experience, it's crucial to explain how the results will be used, why is it useful, and continue explaining. And this kind of, creates this I think then it allows to to continue the work and increase, let's say, the motivation. What we always say, it's important. It's not something to punish you, to collect the data to punish you, but it's really to collect the data to improve the system together and help our students to strive better in their lives, no, to get relevant skills, competencies, and prepare them for the future.
Yeah, and Dorian, if you are still with us.
Yeah, I'm still here.
One recommendation.
One recommendation, yeah. Well, a recommendation would be to, from the start, to have a kind of clear goal of what you want to achieve with this tracking system. Is it kind of a tracking system for the national level, or is it a tracking system for the VET providers? And I think this is the crucial point. We in the agency have opted for the VET provider level, and we are kind of only here for the support. And also we do analyze all of the data. But if you choose for the VET provider level, I would say also repeat some things that were already stressed out. So a lot has to be done with the culture of quality in schools, a lot of talking with different members of the schools, and keeping this activity ongoing, not to stop after a few years or year or two. So make it a continuous plan. Because this is where the most valuable data is collected. So having this each year or each 2 years or 3 years to have it being done, this is something that the VET providers have shown really great satisfaction with this project activity, since they got really nice results from several generations, pinpointing some crucial elements at the VET providers. And some of the VET providers which were with us from 2017 have shown drastic improvements, which can be seen in the self-evaluation reports that they give each year, and from their direct feedback that they give us on the conferences and on the seminars, where they created a lot of new opportunities for their future students. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thanks a lot. We have plenty of questions that we haven't addressed. I apologize for colleagues who posted questions that we couldn't address on this talk. I will share with you the presentation Dorian prepared, the PowerPoint presentation, so we'll get much more detail about the indicators that was targeted in the tracking system, namely indicator 5 and 6 mentioned by Eva on the which are the outcome indicators. So Tatiana, Eva, and Dorian, thank you very much for joining us today. It was a real pleasure, and hope we will get you again with us in other webinars and other events. Thanks a lot. Back to you, Nadia, for the closure.
Thank you very much, Munir and colleagues. Indeed, we do still have some questions, but I think we are, as a quality assurance team, we are very committed to finish on time, you know. So I'm just wondering, because we still have the chat, and you colleagues, Tatiana, Eva, and Dorian, I think we'll be able to see the chat after we finish. If we could ask you to be so kind and maybe respond to the questions we have not managed to address in writing, just in case you have this possibility and time. But in the meantime, indeed, we should start closing the webinar. Thanks so much. I think in this 1.5 hours, we really managed to delve into all the key dimensions of graduate tracking. We have really seen that it can become a sustainable and reliable source of evidence, both at individual level for single schools, but also for policy making at national level or at sectoral level. We saw also that from implementation point of view, although there might be differences in how tracer studies are implemented and by whom in different countries, we heard about centralized, decentralized approach. Still, there are some important issues that are of common nature and should be taken into consideration. So I have noted down from your discussions that in many cases, tracking starts with piloting at a limited scale. with a group of providers or in a specific, let's say, priority sector. So it's important that relevant lessons are drawn from pilots to make appropriate decisions to scale up or to integrate into mainstream processes. But how to do it is, of course, very context specific in every country. So it is also important for upscaling, for integrating it, that all the involved actors are supported methodologically. It is important to take care of building capacities of people that are responsible for implementation at that provider level, but also responsible for analytical dimension. Yeah. So I have also noted down from discussions the importance of interinstitutional cooperation, because of course graduate tracking requires combining information from different sources. And finally, very important, it does not stop with data collection. And we in the Quality Assurance Forum often bring up this continuous improvement model, plan, do, check, review. So I think also in case of graduate tracking, it can really become a quality assurance tool if beyond the implementation, the results are analyzed, let's say used for introducing improvements. And we have seen now from your discussions how information from graduate tracking has, for example, become the subject of quality discussions among schools. But I think it is also important that it starts with proper planning. So identifying goals, developing action plans, and also identifying relevant institutions from the outset. So I would note this key points. Thanks again to everyone for joining. Thanks very much for our speakers. Wishing you all success in your great work, ongoing or planned work on graduate tracking. So now, before we conclude, I just want to inform all the participants that we will continue with the series of thematic webinars on QA topics. So we are planning 2 more actually this year. One will be on quality assurance of basic skills in autumn, most probably in October, and another on quality assurance of recognition of prior learning. So we will share details on these webinars in the coming weeks and months. And now I wish enjoyable continuation of summer to all, holidays if you are planning some, and we will be in touch very soon. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.